Hello, and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. I wasn't sure if I was starting then, but I am, so here we are. It's me and James today, and we are going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about the CSK versus Lucknow game yesterday. I know James covered it already, but I want to have my say. And then today's Delhi Capitals versus Gujarat Titans game, which Titans seem to breeze to a victory on that one, but we'll come to that in a bit. James, I know that you already spoke about the CSK versus Lucknow game, and it was a theme of yesterday and it was a theme of today. But what is going on with seam bowlers in the IPL this year and bowling wides and no balls?
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a theme, and also bowling like multiple in a row seems to be like the fashion now. Before I think officially, Mohammed Shami today in the Gujarat game had bowled one over, and he bowled 10 wides. So as in he'd conceded 10 runs through wides, and yeah, it's a similar story, especially in CSK, where Tushar Deshpande conceded 4 wides and 3 no balls. Deepak Chahar conceded 5 wides. Moeen Ali a wide. Hangageka 3 wides. It is becoming quite a significant uh, aspect of conceding runs. And when you've got relatively tight games like we've seen, so the CSK one only came down to 12 runs, the 12 that Big Dhoni hit. Um, it it does add up. Like you can see how you make it far more difficult for yourself when you're conceding multiple runs, wides and no balls.
Yeah, for
What
sure. I mean, you saw in the Chennai versus Lucknow game, Lucknow also conceded 16 extras, but the mix of that was one no ball and 7 wides. Whereas in CSK, they conceded 18 extras, only 2 of them were byes. So that's 16 bowler error wides, which is just not good enough. And I think from like Deepak Chahar was on it as well. I think he was bowling his fair share of wides as well, and you could tell that Dhoni, uh, let's be fair, wasn't pleased at all these wides that were being bowled. Um, it's just not very good for the game, is it? Really, I think Tushar Deshpande was probably the biggest culprit. I think um, I'm not sure. I'm very convinced about him. I mean, he did bowl one good over where he got a wicket and it only went for 6 runs, but I mean, that's about the best I've seen him perform all tournament. And I think really for Chennai, they were massively bailed out by Moeen playing um, and getting some really fantastic wickets with his bowling when he was on form, which is a real beautiful thing to watch when Moeen's on form.
Yeah, and the thing I spoke about yesterday was Dhoni used spinners correctly because we've seen it so many times that there is copious evidence that when you're playing at Chennai, you should bowl more spin. And that was the difference. Like Chennai bowled far more spin and it worked for them. Moeen
Yeah,
and San
9 overs.
really tight, and it meant that they didn't have to rely on their death bowling, which we know has been trash. Um, Realistically, Deepak Chahar at the death isn't good. Tushar Deshpande is not very convincing. Hangageka has shown glimpses, but again, isn't definitely isn't a proven commodity. Um, I don't know how Chennai can fix it necessarily. Maybe, like you say, getting Sisanda Magala. I think somebody like Dwayne Pretorius would also be a good shout, but until those players actually come into the side, I think you are going to be really like heavily reliant on your spinners taking wickets in the middle order. Otherwise, I really don't think Chennai would have defended that, and it was
Yeah,
217 runs they got.
yeah. I think for me, it's the real key player is Deekshana to come back into the side because he's good at every point of the game. Like he's good in the early stages, he's good through the middle, and he's good at the death. and he can bowl death overs. We've seen that last year. We've seen that in the past. And the only issue with that is that you lose an overseas spot. So who's he going to come in for? Because Mitch Santner is the obvious replacement, but he's been bowling 4 overs of spin and 4 overs of good spin every game as well. Is actually, will Jadeja stand up and bowl as well as Santner has been? Because Santner's been very controlled and very economical, I think. Will he stand up and bowl to that level? Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think Chennai are going to rely a bit too heavily on their overseas slots.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every team does rely on their overseas slots, but I think getting a balance is such a huge part of the game, and also having that Indian talent, which obviously kind of needs to grow with Chennai. They've got a lot of young, untested players. They just need to develop a bit more. We do have a CSK, a CSK, a
CSK,
CSK
nice.
from Look Who's Watching, who said that given that Dhoni is looking in good touch with the bat, do you reckon that he should move up the order? So obviously, the chap's been coming in pretty low down. What was he, in eight? In eight, yeah. And hit 2 6 and then went out. And he middled it for the ball. That second six was so good. I spoke about it yesterday, but it was pure emotion. Like seeing all the lights in the background around the stadium and the
Yeah.
cacophony of noise. I was a big fan of that moment. So if Dhoni's in form, I personally think, yeah, slap him up the order. Like get him above Jadeja. What do you think?
Um, it's where he comes in. I think he has been and has for a long time been playing that finishing role. I don't think Dhoni's knees will put up with the long innings. Let's be honest, he is getting on a bit now. As much of a legend as he is, he isn't as young as he used to be, and a long innings just isn't going to be right for him, especially when he's got to keep wicket afterwards as well. I'd love to see Dhoni coming in earlier. I think the key thing for Dhoni is he's obviously got so many good players above him in the order with Moeen, with Stokes, with Jadeja. I think there's a bit of some cost fallacy with Ben Stokes where he cost Chennai so much that they've got to play him. And with that, I think it's blocking Dhoni from coming in earlier. But I mean, he is a finisher. He comes in for the last 2, 3, 4 overs to smash it around, and I think that's where we will see him at his best. I think what we need to happen, in my opinion, is for the players further up the order, the Ben Stokeses, the Jadejas, to play properly.
Yeah. With Ben Stokes, that's a good segue. Is he being used in the right way? Because he came in at 5, and honestly didn't look very good. Went out very, very soft dismissal. How should Chennai be using Ben Stokes?
I'm not sure about the Ben Stokes answer personally. People have said, and there was a comment. This is something that annoyed me actually yesterday. There was a commentator who was saying that we know how good Ben Stokes has been. Like he was player of the tournament, 2016 maybe when when he was playing for Rising Pune Supergiants, and he had a real impact in the IPL. I want to say 3 years ago when he played for the Rajasthan Royals. But they said, "Oh, Stokes has been good, but he's not been good recently." Where they'd clearly just forgot the fact that he won the World Cup final pretty much single-handedly, and like he turns up for those big games. I think in the World Cup final he batted at 4. I think because he doesn't come in super high for England. With Stokes, it really depends on whether he's bowling or not. And it's going to be interesting when Magala, when Theekshana come back into the squad, because I'd imagine at least one of them will be first team choices. We probably want to keep Mitch Santner in there as well, if not have both of them in. So where does he fit in? And we've talked about previously about Stokes giving Conway being replaced by Stokes as an opener. Stokes has opened in the IPL before and he's played, I think he scored 100 I think he scored his highest ever T20 score for the Rajasthan Royals when he opened. So like he's done it before. The only issue with that is that Conway is class and he's fantastic in the IPL, and you'd be losing a great player who's in form for a potentially out of form Stokes. Yeah, I'd hate to be CSK management right now because there's a lot of headaches going on.
Yeah, if it was me, I said at the start I'd put Stokes at the top of the order. If Conway is playing well, I'd put Stokes at one down. But I think Stokes in the top three just makes sense because if anything, he gets in the way more when he's any lower down the order. Like realistically, having Stokes in at five, there is no advantage to it because he can't go from ball one. There is zero evidence to suggest that Stokes can strike it well from ball one. I don't know where this reputation has come from, how he's got it, because we've seen him play some amazing shots in the past, but they've always been when he's kind of like set. And we've seen in test matches when he's tried to go from ball one, he spoons it up to mid off. It's I don't know where this idea of Stokes being a super explosive player from the get-go has come from. The guy needs like a good 10 balls to get set before he can kick on. And I think at three, at the very lowest, is where he can do that. And he could even reinvent himself somewhat as a, because Moeen Ali being at three does the same job as Bhuvneshwar Rajapaksa for Punjab, which is just a left arm spin hitter. Like as soon as that, because usually your number three comes in just sort of in the middle overs when there's spin on, and that's where you can see the the run rate drop. If Ben Stokes can hit those spinners well, brilliant, then he can do that. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Now looking at the comments of yesterday's video, and kind of progressing ourselves into the Delhi Capitals versus Gujarat Titans game, Tanmay Goel said, just a prediction, Prithvi Shaw is going to score a 50 today. Not a great prediction, Tanmay.
Wrong.
Delhi Capitals playing at home. They lost the toss and were put into bat first. And things didn't go too well for their top order. Bench.
No.
What were your thoughts on, or what are your thoughts on that top order? Because I know how I feel about Delhi Capitals. I predicted them to go quite highly, and I don't feel like they're fulfilling their potential. I don't think they've got their team set up right. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a shame that Riley Russo came in at five and only lasted one ball.
Yes.
Because he's better than that. I think Riley Russo ideally is a number three. That gives him the best chance of scoring big. We've seen him hit hundreds for fun in the past. Is Rovman Powell playing internationals? Is that why he wasn't selected, or was he just dropped and replaced for Imran Norkir? Because I think that they missed him today.
Yeah, so I think Rovman Powell is in the squad, and I think he was mic'd up the other day actually.
He played the first game for Delhi, but he's just not been in the side today. He seems to have been left out.
Yeah,
and very strange, I thought, because they needed him. I thought another example of Akshar Patel being a batter, not a bowler, which is continuing my theme of why I think we should reclassify Akshar Patel as a batting all-rounder, and he should jump up the order and bowl less. Because he was probably, for me, the pick of the batters for Delhi today, and was the one that got them to a somewhat defendable total.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest. He has shown that he has been very good with the bat recently. And honestly, you're starting to convince me that Akshar Patel might actually be a batting all-rounder. But when he's so skilled with the ball, I think he's just slowly progressing into being a genuine all-rounder, which would be brilliant. If he can get into the side as a batter, because he certainly gets in as a bowler, that's pretty special.
I mean, he
Um,
didn't bowl today. That's the thing. Like, Warner didn't choose him to bowl one over, and he said the ball was skidding on more and it wasn't gripping and turning. I mean, he bowled an absolute unplayable delivery in the first game, which was brilliant in that first game that Delhi played. But yeah, I just don't think that. Yeah, he just was chosen not to bowl today. This is the thing. I'm going to keep campaigning for Axar to be a batting all rounder, and yeah, we'll see how far I go with that.
so if I think about the overall team setup of Delhi, I don't. I agree with you that I don't like Riley Rousseau in at five. I think all of his best work's been done at the top, and I I agree with you that Rovman Powell should be in there. I think if you're going to play an overseas at number five, make it Rovman Powell. Make it somebody that actually suits that position.
Mm.
Don't try and kind of crowbar in a top order batter in at number five. I just don't think that works. Sarfaraz Khan, smelly innings of the day, 30 off 34. Get the guy in the test squad because if he's making 30 on a bad day, that's pretty good. But yeah, and I'm trying to find, and it's a bit last minute. I should have done this before we start the podcast. If anybody knows the answer, please leave it in the comments. How many golden ducks has Riley Rousseau had? Because I think it's actually really high. I think he's potentially up there as like one of the highest, duck
I'm
getters.
googling it.
Yeah, I see if you can see anything. But yeah, someone I was impressed by, and I don't know if you've mentioned them already, was Abhishek Parel, who played a really handy cameo of 20 off 11, and he looked good behind the stumps. So he kind of solves a bit of a problem. And if Delhi can sort out the rest of their squad balance, I think they can fulfill their potential. They are absolutely not fulfilling it at the moment.
I want Delhi to do worse and worse and worse because David Warner is captain, and also I had them as bottom of the pile, and I was called out in the comments on that poll for being wrong, and I just think that I'm being proven right by everything at the minute. I'll be honest. I think everything in cricket is proving me right at the minute. Um, as you say, Sarfaraz Khan, get him in the test side. Yeah, no problem with that at all. Mitchell Marsh and David Warner. I mean, David Warner blows hot and cold, doesn't he? Mitchell Marsh seemed to be better as a batter today. Agree. I was impressed by Abhishek Parel. Um, the person I was impressed with the most, though, for Delhi, was actually Khalil Ahmed and his wicket of Hardik Pandya, because that was a probably the highlight of Delhi's bowling.
Yeah,
Like,
and the send off as well. Like the fact that he just looked at him the whole way. I was like, that
incredible.
takes a brave man to do that to Hardik Pandya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hardik
enjoy.
Pandya, future India white ball captain. Kiss your chances goodbye, Khalil Ahmed, of ever being picked for that side. But yeah, I think Gujarat batted fantastically, and the Delhi bowlers just got absolutely smashed all over the place. I'm so impressed with Sai Siddharthan.
Yeah, to tell you what, he paced his innings really well. He was only going at sort of run a ball, and picking up the odd boundary, but really just knuckled down because when you're chasing 163, you need someone to do that.
Mm.
And he let people play around him. Vijay Shankar went out to the weirdest shot I think I've ever seen. Like Mitch Marsh bowled a full ball on like middle and leg, and the guy tried to like sweep it. It was really weird.
Well, it
Very,
was a Mitch Marsh. Here we go. We're going to have some bench bowling and an analysis. Mitch
odd.
Marsh bowled a leg cutter, so he took a lot of pace off. So I think he just got absolutely outfoxed by the pace being off and the fact that it was a leg cutter. It also turned. Mitch Marsh's leg cutter turned a bit because the umpire was so convinced that it wasn't out, even
Mm.
though it was smashing into middle and leg. Um, and the only thing is, because of the trajectory of where it went, But because he put so many revs on that Mitch Martian, his leg cutter, it actually spun. So it was almost a leg spinner rather than a leg cutter. But yeah, a good bit of bowling, very weird shot. And then David Miller doing David Miller things, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Sorry, I'm just quickly Googling how many ducks Riley Rousseau's had because I need to know. I need to know the answer. But yeah, I think one thing that's just sprung to mind, right? If Mitch Marsh can get turned with a leg cutter, why are you not bowling Axar Patel?
I don't know.
One of the best spinners in the world, and you don't bowl him because he's not getting because you don't think he'll get spin. But flipping Mitch Marsh can get turned with a cronky leg cutter. That doesn't.
Considering Rashid Khan took 3 wickets too, David Warner baffles me sometimes. I don't know what goes on in his head. Um, I am still trying to find this stat. I think once we find this stat, we'll be calling a time on the podcast today. James,
Yeah,
are we there with how many golden ducks Riley Rousseau has had?
I'll find it. Am I spelling Rousseau right?
Probably not. I'm
Absolutely
gonna have a
fuming.
look at. Okay, hang on. We'll be right back after this short break.
We've failed. We've failed everybody. We've found out that he's got 10 internationally, but if somebody else can find out the actual stat and leave it in the comments, we'd really appreciate it. Right, I can't even remember where we were.
We were finishing. We were talking about Riley Rousseau and his stats. We got distracted quite a lot. I think we've covered everything we want to cover for this day, for these games. What did you think of the games? Who were the heroes? Who were the villains? Let us know in the comments. Drop us any CNQs as well. We love them. And yeah, just keep giving us questions and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Tomorrow, James, tomorrow in the IPL, we have the
Huge match,
Rajasthan Royals
the derby.
versus the Punjab Kings.
Yes, huge game. Obviously, I'm backing my Punjabi boys, but I think it's going to be a very, very difficult task to beat Rajasthan. To say that both teams won their last games pretty convincingly, I've got to say Rajasthan won theirs more convincingly. It's going to take a lot, but keep your eyes peeled for the glorious knock that Prab Simran Singh is going to serve up. That's all I'm going to say.
Prab Simran Singh. You say
Absolutely.
that like he's not going to get out in the first over by Trent Bolt, which will happen. So I'm going to go with Rajasthan because I think they're just the best team in the league at the minute. They're back up to full strength. They've got no players missing. You're going to get hammered. I mean, Punjab have got Rabada back. Oh, a big whoop. Rabada's back. Liam Livingston's still out of the IPL at the minute, so probably going to see Sikandar Raza, I'd imagine, playing there. But yeah, my money is on Rajasthan Royals. So thanks for watching this Cricket Nerds podcast or listening. If you're listening, you're a legend. Find all of our social medias and links to fantasy leagues that I still can't join because I can't get the VPN to work. Leave them all in the description, but please join our Counter Championship, which starts on Thursday. That's in the description too. Follow us on all of our social medias and various other platforms. And other than that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.